What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Paths podcast. This is episode 13 of the Paths podcast. I'm your co-host, Joseph.
I'm your co-host John, and right before we get started with the episode, we just want to make sure that you guys go ahead and check out all our social media platforms. You can go ahead and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Paths Podcast. We are trying to interact a lot more with you guys, so make sure you're staying tuned for all of that. And if you want to donate or get all the links of where you can listen to our podcast, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, you can go to anchor.fm/Paths-podcast. You can also donate there and support. Now
Thank you,
to the
John.
episode.
Yep, thank you, John. And today we're going to be talking about toxic masculinity, which is very evident in today's world, right?
Yeah,
Do
I
you think we
think
hear about a lot, or is it like under talked about? I don't know how to say it. Like not talked about enough.
I think it's
I
talked
think
about it
people are aware.
more.
You
People are
think
aware
so?
of it definitely, but I think it's talked about it more ever since the Me Too movement.
Okay.
Or it
Yeah.
was like in middle school, like I knew it existed, but
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't aware, and nobody there weren't really conversations. Not until I got into high school was it that I started hearing these conversations, maybe around like my sophomore, junior year.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that was the era of the Me Too movement.
Yeah. I think it's widely known, like it's universal, I feel like now. But I still feel like it's not talked about a lot because it's still like very evident. I feel like guys don't really care that like there's bad stuff that goes on with it, but we'll get into that.
I mean, you also have
So
celebrities and influencers on social media who are kind of bringing more light to this topic, I feel like.
yeah, but also there's the opposite where they're contributing to why people should act the other way, like macho or whatever. I don't know what word
There's
we're
just
gonna
more
say to call it
there's just more
specifically.
exposure now, things available
Yeah.
to us to read and look at.
But also a lot of people's brands are based off of like the toxic okay, but there's two sides. There's like very strong two sides. There it seems like I've seen off of TikTok that I showed you before we started recording that there's like three bases to toxic masculinity that people base it off of is one, like violence, two is objectifying women, and three is money. And like number one, like violence is kind of like I can beat you up, like I can beat you up, therefore I'm more of a man than you are, etc., etc. So many other examples. And then two is objectifying women, of course, is like that guy has a lot of girls, he has a lot of girls that he talks to, and
Mhm.
he's a pimp, he's a player, whatever. And then three is like money, obviously that guy has a lot of money and he's a bigger man because he got more money than you or something like that. But yeah, those are like the bases of toxic masculinity.
Just thinking about it, that all of those fall under like a category of power. I feel that a lot of men feel like they have to be powerful or be in control and powerful. And that's kind of where all of that stems from, like the violence,
Yeah.
the having a lot of women and money, that all contributes to how much power you have. And it's something that stems from when we're children, you know.
Yeah, and we're also taught that a lot growing up with Pixar movies and Disney movies, and like that guy saves the girl. That guy, like there's always a person, a man in the, especially the old ones. It's like the man saves the princess and the man is doing everything for her. The man, or like the man has a lot of girls. Like there's always like a pimp in a lot of these movies too. And that's where it kind of originates also when we're young, and kind of tells us like, "Oh, that man is a hero because of this. Like he did this for her, or he's stronger than all these other guys." With the money, again, also the same thing. There's a lot of people that have a lot of power because they have money, and that's like a universal thing.
And people change when they have power. And that's when I feel some men can go into something with the right intentions and whatever. But once they start getting money and start getting some sort of power, that changes, that shifts
Yeah,
because their
yeah, you
ego
hear that
goes
a
up.
lot. Yeah, that you hear that a lot with like celebrities. Like they switched up because the fame or the power. But yeah, exactly what you're saying. That's 100% true.
But talking on how it stems or where it comes from. The other day, I was at a restaurant, and the table behind
Mm,
me had a father yelling at. He had to have been at most 1 years old, or maybe 2 years old.
mm.
And the little boy was crying, and his father was saying, "Don't cry, boys don't cry, men don't cry. You can't cry." And the little boy is 2 years old. He doesn't know, like, what is he
Yeah,
supposed to do?
exactly.
And me and my
Yeah,
sister were like staring at each other, like, there's no way that this guy is telling
that he
and
just
yelling at
said
his
that.
son not to cry. Like, that is so crazy, but it still happens.
It's crazy that small things like that have such a big impact on us as we grow up, because honestly, like, although it probably sounds like he has the intent of telling him, like, the toxic masculinity thing, like men don't cry, whatever, but it could also just be him saying it like he just wants him to be quiet. But like that also can make him think the other way, like with the toxic masculinity, and then he'll never cry again, and then he'll hold all those emotions in the future and stuff like that. That's like a major
And
effect of how that works.
yeah, yes, yes. And it's the way we're raised by the way our parents raise us, but it's also cultural. A lot of cultures teach that men have to act a specific way. I mean, I
Mhm,
grew up thinking men don't cry and kind of shutting down my feelings whenever I had any. And that kind of,
mhm.
messed me up a little bit. And it wasn't until I learned how to like process and actually use my emotions and feelings and put them out there that I learned how to actually be happy in some sense, because you're
Yeah,
getting
no,
rid of everything you're not supposed to be holding in.
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, and it's like, why do people even buy into the toxic masculinity in the first place? And then you start to think, and it's like because they think that it'll bring them like pride, power, acceptance,
Money, I don't
respect.
know.
Yeah, I
Respect.
guess, yeah. Like respect among peers, and like they think that it'll make them like the boss. Like if they're man enough, they can be the boss. And that's why there's like a bunch of competing, like everybody's competing with that masculinity. But like what does it cost you?
I
And
hate
like,
that,
yeah, I know.
especially in school, right? Did you see it a lot in high school?
Yeah, definitely. Especially because like I would be hanging out with people that like I shouldn't have been hanging out with. And then it's like they would be just subtly, what's the word? Is it subtly,
Subtly,
like
yeah.
low key, I would say, but I don't know the proper word for it. But they'd be low key competing with each other, like to show like who's the alpha of
Yeah.
the group, and it was super annoying because like they
And there
would
was
like
always
crack
a
on each other. That's kind of like the way to do it. Like it was just like make fun of this person and they'll look like less of a man because you're laughing at them and stuff like that, which is so stupid. And you realize that later. In the moment I probably laughed, honestly, but you realize that later. But yeah, it's crazy and
there
it's
was
really
always an
stupid.
alpha too. There was always a leader, and
Yeah, someone that
these
was considered
guys,
like the alpha.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then the guys following him. I
Yeah.
always hated that. Why do
Mhm.
you have to follow someone? Like, I never
Yeah,
understood
no.
that. And the urge to
Yeah, but
make
that's
them
the
happy,
thing. Yeah, I know, right? That's the
And
thing.
like
It's because once I think that once the less alpha people, I don't even know if it's alpha. I'm not even gonna use the word alpha because it's not even like an alpha thing. But like once the
followers.
once the followers see that they're not like the main guy, the boss, then they'll try to please the boss, kind of like a villain has like their henchmen. They'll try to please the boss to try to bring their rank, I guess you can call it, right, up, to get more respect with the boss, to be like, to think that they're cool. And it's so
Ew.
stupid. Like, why? Like,
Like,
why? And luckily I never
we're
succumbed to
peers.
that. Yeah, no, luckily I never resulted to that, like trying to get cooler with certain people just to
Mhm.
get more respect from them, like just say stupid things or do stupid things just to get more respect. It's just like ridiculous.
Just think about it. You're competing to get you say we're in high school junior year,
Yeah, yeah.
you're competing to get a 17-year-old boys
who's a
approval.
bum probably, like who's just a
Was
jerk.
in high
Oh,
school, like
yeah, he probably like got a tattoo or something, and y'all were like, "Whoa, like this dude got a tattoo, like he's a man," or like he beat someone up at a football fight. I mean, at a football game or something. You're like, "Whoa, he's a man!" Like he beat this kid up. Like,
he's
come
so
on,
successful.
right?
I
Or
definitely
he
want
like
his
flex,
respect.
or he flexed his watch or something on Instagram. You're like, "Whoa, that guy's a man," and it's ridiculous.
I hate
But
it. I
back to
never,
yeah, I
yeah,
never understood it either.
yeah, and I never fell into that. And because I never fell into that, I feel like a lot of guys, I didn't have a lot of guy friends.
That's what I was just about to say, John. I was about to say, like, I have a lot of girl space friends because of
Based.
that. Yeah, I had and have a lot of girl friends because of that exactly.
Oh,
Because I just hated that. Shut up. Because I hated that like that dynamic,
yeah, I hated
you
it.
know. And back to
And then
what
a
we were
lot of people are
talking
like,
about.
"Why do you have a lot of friends that are girls? You don't have a lot of friends that
Yeah,
are
no,
guys." I'm like, "Because
yeah,
you guys are annoying. Like, I
exactly.
only have a
I
few friends.
completely understand that. And I
Now
kind
it's
of
different,
shifted.
but
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The costs of buying into this toxic masculinity is like so severe. It can result in like emotional like numbness and like so many other things. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Like bad relationships,
anxiety, bad
like
relationships,
anger problems, I feel or
trust
like
issues.
added like rudeness, like no regard for other people's feelings. I guess empathy, lack of empathy.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of the guys that do keep this toxic masculinity thing going are usually the ones who end up in jail. I'm sorry to say it, but that's like the main thing of it is because these guys get into like gangs or they get into more violent things or bad things, and it can result in like really harsh consequences.
Yeah,
And
I
even
mean,
the video that we saw on TikTok, it was like in a jail, and a lot of the prisoners there said a cost of toxic masculinity is like a life sentence and death and jail and et cetera, et cetera.
yeah, because that's where you get the men who it's cool to beat up your woman, and it's cool to be in a gang, and it's cool to
Shoot people.
kill, shoot,
Yeah.
fight,
Mm-hmm.
rob, and that's a product of toxic masculinity. That's a product of not being able to raise your children the right way. And a lot
Yeah.
of the blame does fall onto the parent. At part, it's a parent's fault,
Yeah. And on the
and
other
then at
hand,
part, it's also,
yeah,
one's
exactly.
decision at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But
To
again,
like
you are a product
realize
of your environment.
you
So
are a product of
if
your
if there's a
environment.
whole cycle going on, it can be hard to realize that
Yeah,
you're in a
exactly.
toxic cycle.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Yeah. It's so hard to a lot of these people don't realize that what they're doing, like the real reasons behind what they're doing. And it's a lot of it is because of their ego or like what they want. They want to be cool. They want respect from other men and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely product of the environment, and it does fall a lot on the parents and the environment, but it is also a big responsibility of the person to be aware of what they're doing and process that of why they're doing things. And we talked about that kind of
And
like that last episode.
and here's a question for you, because now I'm thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it realistic for somebody to acknowledge that themselves? Because if your parents live that way, if
Yeah.
the culture that you're surrounded with lives that way,
Yeah.
and if the education
I
system is built that way, then how are you going to realize that you're doing it wrong?
I think the only way for someone to realize is if they have a really bad experience because of toxic masculinity, or
That's
I
an
guess this
issue.
isn't by themselves, or I guess this isn't by themselves, but like by a friend pointing it out to them, like a good friend pointing it out to them or somebody pointing it out to them. Well, sometimes it doesn't even work. Like people could point out some things, or people could go
Because
to
it's
jail
it's
and stuff, and they'd still
ignorance.
go back to it.
At the end of the day, I think that's what it is. Ignorance. Our everything that we're surrounded with produces that. And if we don't have somebody to educate us since a young age, then we're gonna grow up with a certain mentality, and not all of us are fortunate enough to have parents to educate us in a certain way that allows us, hey, you have to treat women with respect, and hey, you have to be respectful to other men and other people. Just because you're a man doesn't mean you can be rude and this and that, whatever.
Yeah,
And I'm sorry, but that's how the school system's set up. That's how the work system's set up. And so it's hard for somebody who doesn't have that education to get out of it.
yeah, exactly. And I think that a great percentage of the men that are toxic are ones that are brought up in the environment of sports, just like myself. I don't want to bring it to sports again like a few episodes ago, but this is very big in this topic. Being brought up in sports, you're taught to like be a killer, no mercy. You have to destroy the other team. No mercy at all. It's just like 100% the whole time, you know? And then at the end of the day, that's kind of like your mindset. That's kind of like your mentality, even off the field or off the court or whatever. And as an athlete, you have to differentiate those environments because growing up, I still am like, luckily, I've been able to differentiate my attitude and how I act off and on the court or field, but I am like very competitive on the field or court. And all my friends will tell you, literally all my friends will tell you that I'm a completely different person when I'm playing sports because that's how I was brought up in that environment to like be a killer, no mercy. Like, that's how I was brought up. And then luckily as I grew up, I differentiated that and I'm a completely different person off that. But you can ask anybody how I am on the court, on like a basketball court, and I'm completely different. And I talk so much smack and nothing like how I am like off of it.
And I guess, I mean, there's an appropriate time and place, not for toxic masculinity, but to kind of be
Competitive?
competitive. But there's a limit,
Yeah.
and
A lot of people are I don't want to say soft, but very sensitive to that now. Like if you trash talk in sports, it's been the tolerance of that has gotten lower and lower as I've gotten older. And a lot of parents are like, "Hey, that was mean," or like, in the NBA and stuff, they call technical fouls on a lot of people for like really small things and stuff like that. It's like the tolerance has gotten so much lower for that.
which is good, I guess.
Yeah, it is, but it's like annoying when you're playing because you
Yeah.
want to be competitive, but they want you to like, so it's
Well,
hard.
why is being competitive brought down to kind of like insulting the other person? Why is that considered
Oh my
competitive?
god, yeah, I guess.
Like,
Like,
why can't you just keep like playing as hard as you can and be competitive in
it's
that way?
it's mostly
Why
in
do
the
you?
moment. It's mostly in the moment. It's like adrenaline. You score on somebody and they like were
But
all
what's
over
the
you
need
and
to
like
bring them
it was
down now
still
and be
hard.
like, "Ah, you suck, you little
Mm,
blank, blank, blank"? Like, what's the need for
yeah,
that
again,
if you're
that's
already showing them
I guess, but
with you scoring?
the tolerance is way, way lower though. It's kind of, I guess it is like very toxic to do such things like you suck or like get off me or you're little. I
Like,
guess
I never
that
understood
comes
that.
out. Yeah, I get that. But it's really all in the moment and like how competitive you are because you brought up like that. You're
Mhm.
brought up like that. And that's how other people bring you up is like he's too little, or he's not good, like trying to bring your confidence up, you know trying to
Yeah.
bring your confidence up to do better. So like that's kind of like how to bring your own confidence up is to do that, to say that that person sucks or like they're too small, because you want to win, so you want to bring yourself up and you want to bring them down. I guess that's the whole thing with that. I finally got to the end of it. I finally figured it out. I couldn't think of it in the beginning. Like I didn't
I
realize that in
guess.
the beginning, but yeah, it's really to win. That's the goal. So you want to bring yourself up and you want to make them play worse. So you say those things to
But
make them play worse.
even okay, and I had an experience from high school where it was like we were playing gym sport, like gym class.
uh,
Like, congratulations. Like, I
yeah,
won. My team won
yeah,
the game. We're gonna get $50
yeah,
million. Like, who cares?
yeah. Some
Um,
people are very. competitive in gym class and stuff,
my
and it's
my
kind of
team
annoying.
won
Yeah,
in kickball, softball, whatever. And this other, I think I told you, sorry, this other kid came up to me and was like, "I almost spit on your head," just because I was celebrating with my team. Like, yeah, like we won.
it
Like he came
just
on like, "I'm gonna spit
it's
on your
also to
head."
make
Like,
himself
what
feel
is that?
better,
What? Like, right? That's to make himself feel better. And I
you
went,
know.
okay, go ahead. I want to go. And he
Yeah,
walked away.
I can't
But
imagine you saying anything like trash talky or
well, I was like, what am I gonna say back to that? Like, what is the point
no,
of me
no. I
arguing?
want to
I
see
said,
that.
go ahead. I want to see, like, go ahead. I
Yeah,
literally
I want to
put my
see
head
that.
down and I was like, go ahead, go. Like, he was
That's
like,
so
wait, what?
funny.
Just walked away.
Yeah, see? That's good. That's good that you said that though. Kind of like, like do it. Like I'm not phased by that. Because if you were like that's what they want. If you were
Yeah. So,
like
because
what
what
don't do
other,
that? Then they would be
yeah,
like,
well,
yeah. Then they
yeah,
feel better about
I
it.
win.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly. I win. Like you won the game, but I won this, kind of thing.
What other reaction would you have
Yeah. Like I was thinking
to
about that too. It's like how would you react? Because I've been less like that. Like, oh, when I've been different. So, like, if somebody came to me like that now, I would be way less attentive to it, uh, and bring way less light to it because like if you just do that, you're making them feel better, or you're giving them what they want, which is like a competition of like manliness. And I've made a mistake of like confronting it recently. It's like my friend asked me like, "Do you think you beat me in a fight?" And I was like, "Yeah," because I answered honestly because I do think that, but on the other hand, it's like, and that's like my
like,
competitive
are you
side coming out.
questioning my
Yeah, like
manhood?
why? Like what's the point? Like who cares? You
Mhm.
care? Like I do not care. And I my competitive side came out then, and a lot of people don't know that side of me, like the competitive side, like where I get meaner. Oh no, mean. I'm not mean usually, but yeah, like that
Meaner.
side came out. But usually now, like I would react different. I guess I just would be like, I don't care. Like,
Whatnot.
what would you say back if somebody said that to you?
I literally just like laugh and like go away.
Yeah,
I've had instances where
because a lot of people
they
are like that. A lot of guys are like that. And again, that's why we don't have a lot of guy friends.
true.
Because a lot of
Well, I
guys
wouldn't say
do
that for me
want to
now.
compete like that.
Now all
Oh no,
my
yeah, I know you
friends
have a lot of guy friends, but
now
they're
all my
like
friends are guys,
different.
but they're different. They're like
Yeah, they're with
mature.
your friends, right? Yeah, exactly, mature.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that like when you surround yourself around mature people, you're not gonna be like, this is just child. Toxic masculinity
Mm-hmm.
is just childish. It's
Yeah,
childish. Like, grow up.
yeah,
Dang.
exactly. A lot of people don't know how to grow up
And
in so many different ways, all including toxic masculinity. But that's like so rare to find in people, especially at our age. That's why a lot of your friends are older.
no.
Yes. A lot of your guy friends are
The
older.
oldest is 23,
Okay, but they're out of
22,
college.
21, 20. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but they're older. Um,
They're in the real world. I feel like toxic
yeah,
masculinity is like more fomented in high school,
no,
college,
let me tell you how many
the
older people that
workplace.
I know that are still like that, that
Do
are
you think
older
when
than us, like way
do you think
older.
our generation is gonna grow up
People,
to be like that? Our woke generation, quote unquote, woke.
that's a great question. Do you think so?
I think so.
They're gonna grow up like
How many?
that still?
Yeah, how many guys do you know that are still
Yeah,
have toxic
there's still
masculinity?
always gonna be a great amount of people that are still like that because of the parents,
It's a cycle,
That's the
and until
big
somebody
reason.
breaks it.
And the environment. Like in the hood, that's how a lot of people are brought up. So
Mhm.
like there's still going to be a percentage of people that are still like that and they can still spread it through how they act and like their followers can spread that. It's kind of like a disease. It's a trap to me.
I think it's set up by everyone. I mean,
Yeah.
government, parents,
You think so? The government.
culture, 100%.
How
They
so?
control our education system.
Oh, yeah,
So when you
yeah.
go to, like you mentioned, the hood,
Mhm.
before, these low income neighborhoods, um, they don't get the same education as other people. They don't get
Mhm.
these woke, quote unquote, lessons that other people in other school systems do get. So, the government does play a big part in making sure that low income neighborhoods stay low income neighborhoods and keep fomenting that, like,
Mhm.
sexism and toxic masculinity. Because what ends up happening, like we mentioned, they end up doing something that's going to put them in jail, or they end up ruining their reputation. They can't get a good job, and they can't do this and they can do that, and
Mhm.
it keeps them in the low
Yes.
income
That's very
neighborhoods.
true. That's very true.
It,
Yeah,
it, it
definitely.
it attacks from everywhere.
It really does. And it is a trap because you're promised, not promised, but you kind of see how these like some successful people are, and you're like, if I'm like that, then I can be, wealthy, or I can be a player. I could get a lot of girls. I can get money like that. And then like what is it really costing you? Like nobody really takes that into account. Like the pain that it puts to you. Like you're not aware of like your own emotions because you just put them off because you try to act like hard, or like you try to act like nothing affects you, I guess you could say. And like what I said before, like you can have a lot of bad relationships because of it, and because you want to be like the boss and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And it has a lot of very negative connotations and costs. And even the guy that was in the prison that was talking to those guys, talking to the inmates, he said, does it seem like it's worth it seeing all the costs? And they were like, no. Like everybody in the room said no. But nobody's taught this, and they're just brought up like that, and that's all they know. And I know a lot of friends that have, the only word I could think of is succumb, like got drawn into that environment and how people act like that. And sadly, I like stopped talking to them more and more because they start acting like that.
I really want to get into like the head of one, like inside their mind, because I don't understand it. Do they think that it looks cool, you being 25 years old and
You
still
know,
acting like this?
yeah, I have a friend who's drawn into it, and I always talk to him about this stuff, and his head always seems in the right place. He knows the effects that it has or how stupid it looks, but once he gets back to talking to these people that he gets it from, it's like he doesn't know anything. Just to look
and,
cool and stuff like that,
and
That
that's the
like
environment that
takes
he's putting himself
priority,
in.
and that's like what takes priority. Exactly. That's the environment that he's putting himself in, but that's what he wants. That's what he's choosing to do. That just takes priority. Like people just have priority problems.
There's one
Their
word that
priorities
sums
like
up
coolness or being
there's one
sorry.
word that sums up the solution.
What?
Humility.
Why?
Hum-
Sorry,
Humility.
explain.
Am I saying that right? Like humble, being humble.
Yeah, that's what I ultimately got to. At first, I thought of like humility, like human, like being human, but then I was like, no, no, yeah, I got it. Humility, being
Yeah,
humble.
if you're humble, you're gonna accept, number one, somebody is always better than you at something. So you're
Yeah,
not fighting for that top spot. You're gonna respect other people. And you're not gonna want to be like the coolest and the best at this, blah blah blah. And I feel like a lot of men lack humility and
humility,
just learn how to be
modesty,
humble, modest.
empathy.
These
One
are
of the couple of
lacking
modest things.
qualities of people. And actually, I think it's getting worse with our
Envy,
generation, with our
jealousy.
woke generation, the generation that's supposed to be advocating for everything.
Yeah,
But the personal traits that everyone has is getting worse. Nobody's humble nowadays. So it's
yeah.
how do they expect to fix this toxic
Yeah,
masculinity and
and a lot of envy has come from this like generation, and that's why a lot of people try to bring other people down. A lot of the time they envy the other person and what they have, and that's what cancel culture kind of like comes down to, is like people are envious of what other people have, and then they make a mistake, so then everyone's like, they did this wrong, they should be punished just like anybody else has been punished for, and like they're super envious, so like they want to bring those people down to their level because they're super jealous of what they have and all that stuff. Do you agree with that?
yeah, it's a lot of things.
Yeah,
I feel like it's
a
everything
lot of
we
stuff is a
spoke
lot of
about.
things.
A little bit
Yeah,
of everything.
yeah,
But
exactly.
envy does play a big part in it, 100%.
I mean,
I
I
think we
think we're
just have to
good.
do yeah, I think we just everyone has to do
I
their
think we're
part
good.
in
I know.
self-analyzing
Yeah, let's talk about that a little.
and knowing when to break that cycle. It has to
And
start
we
somewhere.
Yeah, and a lot of our episodes end like this, but look around and see who you have around you and how they act. We talk about that a lot in a lot of different episodes, but again, like that's what it comes down to for so many things is look around, analyze the people around you and what they're doing positively and what they're doing like negatively, and also like how it's affecting them, but also how it's affecting you. Cut those people out, the people that are bringing those negative things into your life, or at least like bring awareness to them about it and be aware yourself and kind of look deep into yourself. Again, self-reflection as you do with your friends, you should do like with yourself. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed.
Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys tune in to all our social media platforms like TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find us at Pat's Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you can go ahead and rate us. That would be great.
Yes.
Um, and we really appreciate everyone's support. And if you guys want to donate, you can donate at anchor.fm/paths dash podcast slash support. Anything helps. And we really appreciate everyone's support, whether you're listening or donating. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. And with that, that is episode 13 done.